Welcome to the Wholesaling Inc. podcast, America's #1 podcast for new real estate investors, where we know that finding discounted property is the most proven path to financial freedom. I am your host, Brent Daniels, Mr. TTP, Mr. Talk to People, and I am telling you this: if I can do this business, so can you. So let's get started. I've got a wholesaler out of Spokane, Washington, a new wholesaler, mostly a flipper. Listen to this: 2021, 126 flips, 2022, 120 flips, 2003, a little bit lower, around that 70 to 100 mark, and then this year, absolutely doing some incredible things. It is out of Spokane, Washington, but, well, they do business in Spokane, but live in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and I will tell you this: Coeur d'Alene is one of my favorite places to visit with my wife, Erin. She loves it. George Uno. George, how are you?
I'm fantastic, Brent. Man, how are you?
I'm excited. You do so many deals, so many flips. You're in an interesting place in your career. You're in an interesting moment where you guys have done such a great job with flipping properties, but now you're coming to the dark side. You're coming to the wholesaling side. You're coming to my side, baby, and it's working out for you guys. And I just kind of want to talk about the dynamic between when do you flip and then when do you wholesale, and also you guys are doing some incredible things with TV, and you're using an old school method that I'm very excited to talk about because it's how I started my career. But George, how long have you been in real estate?
Just 3.5 years now, man. I've just always wanted to be in it. Finally got a chance, and man, there's nothing better in the world.
I totally agree. It's the best business of all time. And you work with Lee Arnold in Coeur d'Alene. He's been doing this for a long time. He's really well established, really a big name in the real estate coaching and flipping space, and can't say enough great things about him. But you didn't start out with Lee as a real estate guy, right?
No, I was actually just a software nerd building websites, fixing things in the back end. I mean, you can imagine going from that to acquisitions. It's kind of a stretch from being that introverted type to now being completely extroverted. And but I owe it all to Lee, man. He taught me everything I know, gave me a chance, and dude, I'm just loving it.
That's awesome. So let's touch on that for a second, because there's a lot of people that have that label, right, George? I'm an introvert, right? I'm better, working through text or through DMs or through writing than I am actually, human communication with using, my voice, I guess you could put it. So how did you make that transition? What were the kind of the biggest challenges that you had to face making that transition?
Man, that phone was heavy at first. I'm not gonna lie. It was real hard to get on the phone and talk to people, but dude, I kind of like studied a lot of your stuff, and you were always just like, talk to people. So I just did it, and eventually you get over it. It's hard, the first couple calls, but once you start making connections and stuff, and just, seeing a little bit of success, I mean, just a glimmer of hope, it really turns you around and goes, oh, wow, that introverted thing was just a label I was putting on myself that it's just holding you back. I mean, it's not serving you in any way. So why speak that over yourself?
Yeah, I feel like the whole introvert thing or label, every time somebody says that they're an introvert, I just find them or catch them in a situation where they're confident or in a group where they're confident, and then all of a sudden they're the chattiest people of all time. Especially software guys, especially engineers, that are more kind of analytically leaning. You get them in a position where they feel comfortable and confident speaking on something, you'll never shut them up. They'll just go on forever and ever and ever and ever, which is really interesting. So I think if you're ever feeling like, this is a 400-pound phone, it's going to take so much for me to go talk to strangers. Well, yeah, until you talk to enough to where you feel confident, until you build the skills to where you feel confident. I don't know anybody that is in a confident position and they don't feel like they have something that they can um, accomplish by just being themselves and letting loose and letting go of all of the fears and just having a conversation. You know what I mean?
Oh, 100%, 100%. I mean, at first you're like, oh, what if they ask me a question that I don't know the answer to? And then you realize you go, hey, that's a great question. Let me double check on that. And then you just get right back into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not
I
a
think my
fatal moment by any means.
Listen, mindset comes down to your skills. You're going to have a really strong mindset if you have really strong skills in anything, especially in this business. And the reason we talk so much, if this is your first time listening or if you're catching us and you've been away for a little while, about communication and talking to people is because if you boil down the real estate investing business into two words, those two words would be conversations and offers. If you're having conversations and making offers with property owners, you cannot lose. It is undefeated. You will always find opportunities and you will always find great deals, discounted properties, if you talk to enough people and make enough offers. Would you agree, George?
Oh, 100%. It's just a numbers game. I mean, once you boil it down to that, it's like, hey, I got to have X amount of conversations, make X amount of offers. Some of those offers are going to get accepted, some aren't. You're going to face a little rejection, but the ones that do, a portion of those are going to close and you're going to get paid.
So, how do you determine if you're going to flip a property or wholesale a property?
So initially, this business was built all around flipping. We have the construction company, that's our sister company that we feed all our deals to. We keep them busy. But lately, we've been kind of struggling to keep them not busy, but for them to keep up with us. So we've got a backlog now that, things have kind of slowed down on their end. They've lost a few crews, and we're just outpacing them. So what are we going to do? Sit around and pay holding costs, or let's build the buyers list and start wholesaling? Was pretty obvious for us, and we're going to kind of talk about this later. But TV ads are getting us a lot of good leads, but I mean, it is a broad net. It is literally the entire state of Washington now that we are serving. And before we were in this tiny pocket, Spokane, Washington. Now we're getting calls from all over the state. So it was a little bit tricky to jump into that at first, but it's like, hey, there's people out there that'll buy these properties in these more remote towns. We just got to find them.
I love it. So let's talk about TV because I think it's really interesting. I did TV all of last year, turned it off in January, going to turn it back on, even though it's an election year, so that gets a little tricky from August to October, I hear. But we'll navigate those waters and see what we can because I really believe, I've been doing this since 2004, George, and I've never really focused on building a brand locally. Like I've got a network, I've got great people in the industry, people know that, but from a public standpoint, with my home buying and wholesaling business, I haven't really built that brand up. And I see other guys in my industry that are spending $200,000, $300,000 a month in TV ads, and they build an incredible brand. Now they're making $1 million a month in their gross income. So that's what I'm looking at. That's kind of my North Star of what I'm trying to do, and really build a great reputation. But to do all of Washington, what is your budget for TV?
It's not much, man. Up here, your dollars go pretty far. I mean, your market is pretty competitive, I'd imagine.
Yep.
Our market's a little bit smaller, so it's really affordable. I mean, it's surprisingly affordable.
20 grand, 30 grand? Is it?
You know what,
Do
dude?
you not want to tell your competition? Is that what's going on?
We could. It's in that range, yeah.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
some months we spend a little more, some months we spend a little less, just kind of depending on where we're at in terms of lead volume. And we're always tweaking things. You've got to always be kind of testing, otherwise you might never find that next thing that just crushes.
Sure. I love it. And let me ask you this: are you on the commercials or somebody else?
Oh gosh, a face like this? No way. So at first we had a redheaded woman, a little bit older, middle-aged woman, and she was absolutely crushing. But then we changed to just kind of your standard TV spokesman guy, and there's a little lull there. But now that he's recognizable, it's taken off again. So it's really weird. You'd think, hey, I got to get this perfect message, the perfect person, the perfect graphics. It really doesn't matter what you put out there. It's that you're getting in people's homes, you're getting into their living rooms. They see you, they have the problem, they call.
Yeah, it's interesting. When I was talking to the same group that was running your TV ads, Tony Javier with 10X TV, they were saying that they look to do 1,000 views, 1,000 people seeing your ad for every $4, which I was like, what? Like that is an incredible amount of views locally, and then we were spending. We were spending about 30,000 a month in TV, and it was really kind of break even. We saw the kind of tail end. This year we had some more that fell in, so it kind of made it a better return on investment. But I was on the I'm on the TV ads, and every single person was like, listen, you will do 20% more deals if you go on the appointments yourself because you're the recognized face, which that's why I asked if you're on the TV ads. I wonder if that is something that you guys test in the future.
Yeah, that's actually one of our next tests because we're just trying to find our control right now and figure out what the lead volume is, cost per 1,000 impressions. But then we started brainstorming, and be like, hey, why do we just have one ad?
Yeah,
Doesn't make sense.
love it. And
Yep.
so somebody calls you up, or is it mostly they go to your website and fill out a form?
Most of them just pick up the phone and call. So
Awesome.
when we put the TV ad together, I made sure we got a really good, easy to remember number: 509-818-1800. Easy.
Easy.
Yep.
And you answer those calls live?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. As best we can.
You have to. I mean,
Speed to lead.
yeah.
It's everything.
Listen, inbound leads, you have to be on instantly. Like, I don't care what time they're calling, you answer it.
Yeah.
I don't care what's going on, you answer it.
Yeah.
You make it
Yep.
happen. Because if you
Oh
don't,
yeah.
they're going to call. They will call somebody else, and it's tough to get them on the phone again once they've already moved on or once they've got something else going on. Obviously, if you don't answer, get back to them as soon as possible. But any direct mail, any bandit signs, any billboards, any radio, any TV, any I don't know, people that do magazines or newspaper ads, any kind of inbound lead, that they're calling you got to answer live.
Yeah. They're chasing you. You got to think about that, how hard it is to chase down a lead. When they're chasing you, you got to answer that phone 9 p.m., Saturday morning, Sunday night. I mean, on the toilet, I've answered calls. I mean, it does not matter. If you got an inbound lead, you let them catch you.
Love it. George, what does your schedule look like now? Like, give us
24/7.
give us a day in the life of George Uno.
Day in the life is 24/7. I'm ready to pick up that phone. But typically, I like to schedule my appointments either in the morning, kind of front load them all in the beginning of the day, or kind of in the afternoon if I've got meetings in the morning already.
Yeah.
But 24/7, man, is my approach to it. You don't have to be crazy like me. That's just whatever I do to the fullest, and that's just how I roll.
I had a live show on today on my YouTube channel, George, and I was talking about making money faster in this business. And the first number one on that is raise your level of enthusiasm to an 8 every single day, right? You just become a magnet, and you just have a better, more productive day. And part of that is you got to fall in love with what you do. You got to fall in love with this business. And if you do, I mean, George, I could tell that you have it. I could tell that you're excited when you get those calls coming in. I could tell you that you make yourself available for it. And I'm just telling everybody, the audience, I mean, when you have that, when you have so much enthusiasm, and you fall in love with what you do on a daily basis with this business, that call coming in isn't a nuisance. It's exciting. It's like an opportunity. It's like your best friend calling you, or something that you're very excited to hear from. You know what I mean? And so once you're in that mindset, that's when things really take off. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I absolutely agree with that.
And George, you're doing something that I did to get my first 20 deals. You want to explain what you're doing out there while you're in between appointments or in between following up with your leads and everything?
Dude, I do it everywhere I go, and I learned it literally from you. And I think we have pretty much the same method. I love technology, obviously, as like a recovering nerd guy. But dude, I drive for dollars and I knock on doors. It's so old school. In 2024, people will be like, "What are you doing that for? We got AI, we got all this fancy stuff." No, man. I take a pen and a paper in the car everywhere I go, even when I'm going home to Hawaii. I'm driving around looking for dollars everywhere I go. And dude, if I spend 20 minutes from one appointment to the next driving, I'll take a different route I've never taken. I'll get 50 plus nice, really promising looking houses in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And nobody else knows about those. Nobody else can pull that same list. I own those leads, right? Like it's impossible to duplicate what I'm doing. And it's really old school. You wouldn't think pen and paper in 2024, but dude, just getting old school and talking to those people. I just locked up a deal, insanely good seller financing terms. I mean, insane. Zero payments first year, 0% interest, principal only payments the second year, 2-year balloon. I'm like, we're gonna be in and out of that thing for almost nothing. It was incredible, dude. When I locked that one up, I couldn't believe like the stuff I learned from you, the stuff I learned just from YouTube University, Wholesaling Inc. It works, and when you put it to practice, you have that enthusiasm, and you just see every single house out there that's got long grass or a car in the yard as an opportunity, and you chase those opportunities. Dude, the sky is the limit.
I love it. So let's break down that deal. So
Yeah.
when did you find it? You were driving around and just saw the property and decided to call them up. Like, walk me through the whole thing.
Sure, man. I was driving down a super busy street. It was 2 doors in from the corner, but something about it just caught my eye. I don't even know what it was because I went and drove back by it to meet the seller there. I was like, that isn't even that bad of a house. But there was like, I can't remember if it was like construction debris or something. There was some trash in the front. But I mean, it was not like a super trap house by any means.
Right.
But I kind of saw it. I wrote down, okay, Maple, Knox, Southwest, SW, Southwest, 2 in. And like while you're driving 35 miles an hour, I just scribble that out. And sure enough, skip traced him. He was down in Florida. He's like,
wait. So you
yeah,
go
yeah.
back to the office and find the full address?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What did you use to find it?
Just Zillow, man. Just Zillow.
All right. So you go on the street, you find it on Zillow.
Yep.
And then you take the information, you get the phone number.
Yep.
Then what?
Dude, I called him up. He was in Florida at the time, but he's like, hey, my wife just passed away. That rental needs work. I'm going to come work on it this spring and then sell it. And I was like, oh, yeah, what are you going to do after you sell it? He's like, I want to move to Belize. I want to enjoy my life. Like, time is the most valuable asset out there. So I was like, all right, time is your most valuable asset. Why are you going to spend the spring here in Spokane fixing up this house to make another, maybe 50 grand? I was like, let me free you up from this. Let me take over the project. Let me get you onto that beach in Belize today. A week later, it was closed.
So wait. Let's not skip this week later. I want the juicy details, George. I want people to be able to use this case study and go implement into their. So you asked a really important question here. What are you going to do after you sell it, right? And I think that's really important to understand, like, what is their goal with the proceeds of this property? Or what is their goal after they don't have to put their attention on this property anymore? And that's really how you really pull out what is the true motivation here? What do they really want to accomplish with this thing? What's the next step that they're trying to get to, right? And so you figure that out. He wants to go. He wants to be on the beach, the whole thing. And then how do you go from, okay, well, let me give you a cash offer to let me do an owner finance? Like, what did you say?
Well, Well, like everybody, I mean, lately it seems like everybody's talking to sellers, and sellers are just anchored so high, right? From the pandemic, COVID years, especially up here. Dude, we saw our property values like triple over 3 years. So everybody was just anchored so dang high. And I don't remember if it was like a YouTube clip from you or something, but they're like, hey, if you want that price, then you got to help me with the terms, and then we can
Yep.
make this work.
Yep.
So I was like, hey, let's talk terms. It doesn't sound like you need all the money right up front, do you? He's like, nah, man, I'm doing pretty good. So I was like, all right, well, look, if you want me to get you that much money, here's kind of the terms I need. And I mean, I used real simple language. I was like, hey, I can do, what kind of down payment do you want? He's like, well, the place in Belize I'm looking at, it's about 50. And I was like, 50 grand? Okay. So if I put that down, we've got a loan balance of, I think it was like 70 grand or something like that. Or it was 100 at first. So it's like, all right, you want 150 total for this thing. That's a pretty big stretch for this neighborhood, given how much work it needs. It was completely gutted. So I said to him, all right, and then how soon do you need the rest of the money? And he's like, well, I don't know, a year or two. So I said, perfect, 2 years, that'd be great. I will get this thing, fixed up and sold and pay you off as soon as I possibly can. Um, but because I'm paying you so much, would it be okay if I didn't make any payments the first year? Just because I'm going to be putting all my money into the rehab and all that stuff. And he said, yeah, that's fine. Money didn't matter to him, right? He'd been buying homes in Spokane since the 70s. And this dude was stinking rich. He
Yeah.
had done very well for himself. So that question, hey, what are you going to do after you sell it? Well, it pulled out that motivation it wasn't about money. It wasn't like, hey, I need 150 grand to send my kids to college. It wasn't anything like that. It was just, I wanted my time back. I want to go spend it in a beautiful place. So that immediately told me, hey, money is not this guy's top concern.
Right.
Even though he's anchored high on price, I bet you I can figure something out. So he was totally fine waiving the payments. And then I was like, and then is it cool if the second year I'll pay down the principal? I'll just make some principal only payments. I didn't say 0% interest. That would have been sounded bad, right? So,
Yep.
hey, can I just make, principal payments that second year? Oh yeah, that's fine. I was like, how much you want? Like 1,000 a month? Yeah, 1,000 a month's okay. Again, money was not his driving force. So we're not even going to hit that second year, man. That thing's going to be sold and just done with by that time.
Sure. And did you have to put 50 grand down?
I did, yeah. Yeah, that was the one thing he didn't want to budge on because he already had a piece of land he was looking at in Belize that was 50,000 that had a house halfway built on it. So he really wanted that to just go straight there and put that check down on that house.
Right. Got it. So pretty big down payment, but got the
Yep.
terms that you were looking for, and you guys have the bank account to be able to do it, and you don't have any financing on this, any financing costs. What do you think? So you give them 150. What do you think you'll sell it for once it's fixed up?
250.
Awesome.
Yep.
Awesome. And so what do you think you'll make on it?
Profit wise, I mean, gosh, it's going to depend on how much the rehab costs. But I had 70 budgeted for the rehab. So, I mean, you do the math there. What, we got like 30 grand profit, easy.
Easy. Come on.
Yep.
I love it, George. Yeah, I think it's listen, this is really the beautiful part about real estate when you're really speaking with a motivated property owner, and the property's in really rough shape, but they want too much for the property. You can hit them between the eyes with your cash offer, and you can stick to it. You absolutely can. Or you can say, listen, I can get you your price, but it'll have to be in payments. All right. Are you open to payments on it? And if they're open to that, that's when you can have a lot of fun. You can have a tremendous amount of fun with the way that you structure that. And because here's the thing, if you really think about it, and I want everybody to do this kind of mental exercise. If somebody wanted $1 million for a property that is worth $250,000 fixed up and it needs $70,000 worth of work, right? Could you do that deal? Yes. If you pay them $1 a month for rent, right? Or for the mortgage or whatever you want to call it, right? It just depends on how much the mortgage is. It just depends on how much the monthly payment is. I mean, okay, great. I'll give you a dollar a month or $20 a month for the next 50 years, whatever. I mean, over a long enough timeline, that property is going to be worth $1 million someday, or not. But you've got it to the point where you've got payments for a long enough period of time to where it makes sense from a cash flow standpoint. So that's when real estate gets real fun. Is when you have somebody that may not want all the money up front for whatever reasons, tax reasons, they don't need that money, it creates more problems for them, but they just want to get rid of their property. And so, awesome. I love this business.
Dude, creative finance, once you like study that and realize that it's doable, it just blows your mind. It's why they call it creative finance. It's just you can do almost anything. What if you can unlock the right terms? You can pay retail for a house. Doesn't matter.
Yep.
Like it's just, and especially in this high interest rate environment, everybody's running for the hills. Dude, seller financing, you can get any interest rate you can negotiate.
Yeah. Well, and if you really break it down for seller financing, it's just how much is the down payment? What's the monthly monthly payment? And when does it have to be paid off? And
Right.
so we have a 5, 10, 50 rule as kind of a base rule, which is no more than 5% down, no shorter than 10-year balloon, and no more than 50% of what you can rent it for a payment. And so if you fit into those boxes, you're going to have a phenomenal deal, right? A really phenomenal. You guys are flipping this because it was good. The property needs significant improvement. But when you have a rent ready house and you can go 5, 10, 50 on that, woo! Come on.
That's dude. We've got a duplex like that meets that 5, 10, 50 rule, and we will never sell that thing.
Right.
Never.
Right. Yeah, it's incredible. So, George, how can people get a hold of you? How can people connect with you?
Dude, I'm on reiclub.com. You can look me up on Instagram, regular guy, REI. Yeah, man, I'm out there. Just search for me.
Regular guy. What is
REI.
it? Regular guy, REI?
Yeah, man, because I literally have had a little bit of training in this, but dude, I jumped in head first. We didn't even really have like a creative finance training portion. Everything I know about creative finance is from YouTube channels like yours.
Yeah.
It's not rocket science.
Awesome, George. Awesome. Yeah. Give some advice to anybody starting out, anybody working on their first deal.
Dude, do your studying, do your homework on YouTube. But after you've got the basics, you got to put it into action. You got to talk to people. Dude, I've watched your videos from the get-go, from the day I got into the real estate business as a software developer. I started Googling, found you, and just said, oh, wow, this guy really makes it seem pretty stupid simple. And fast forward to now when I'm jumped on the acquisition team to help out, it is that simple. There's really nothing about it. You got to talk to people. You got to make offers to people.
There you go.
That's
From
it.
A guy that has done over 400 deals right here, George Uno. Awesome. If you guys are in the northern Idaho or Spokane area, make sure that you're connecting with George. He is absolutely phenomenal. Go to his office, check it out, meet him, be around the team. He's just a phenomenal guy. So, George, thank you for being on here.
Dude, thanks a lot, Brent, man, for having me on the podcast today, for all the stuff you've put out that got me to where I am at, man. Seriously.
Awesome. And guys, when you're looking at and reflecting on your real estate business, you got to figure in 4 factors. You got to figure in what is your experience level, what market are you in, what's your schedule look like, and what is your budget for marketing. That's it. You look at those 4 things, and you can put together a absolutely perfect plan for being able to go and attack this business full force. And if you need some help with that, we'd love to help you with that. We've done that for thousands and thousands of incredible real estate entrepreneurs, investors, wholesalers throughout the country. Go to wholesalinginc.com, wholesalinginc.com, apply for a call. Once you're in there, our team will really break down and put together a custom blueprint for you specifically so that you can go out and take massive imperfect action. And that's it for the Wholesaling Inc. podcast. My name is Brent Daniels, and I encourage you to go out there and talk to people. Till next time, guys. Love you.